Okay, good morning and welcome to the October 24th, 2017 Wright County Board meeting. We'll begin this morning with our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all. And the minutes from last week, October 17th. Has anyone had a chance to look at them?
I'll make a motion to approve last week's minutes.
Second that. Oh, Michael can have it.
Okay, we'll give it to Commissioner Potter. So motion by Commissioner Hewsome, second by Commissioner Potter to approve the minutes. Further discussion? Anything, Lee? No? Okay, all right. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. The review and approval of the agenda for today.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second that.
Motion by Commissioner Delight, second by Commissioner Vetch to approve the agenda. Discussion, seeing none, no additions, all right. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries unanimous. The consent agenda for today. Does anyone have anything they would like removed for further consideration?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda with a, just a notice that we're approving the non-union benefits for health insurance today.
Okay.
And I'll second that, and yes, it would
All
be
unions?
Good
The
to note
non-union.
that.
Or for the non-union?
Non-union.
I thought you said for all unions.
No, non-union.
Okay.
Okay. Motion by Commissioner Delight, second by Commissioner Hewsome. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. And we are down to our time to things. Our auditor treasurer, Mr. Bob Hevelow. Good morning, Bob.
Good morning, Board. We're going to do this in 2 minutes. Again, we have a situation where we've incurred expenses on a parcel of property that we're going to have to assess. So I'm going to have Greg go over this with you.
Okay. Hope we don't have to beat you up any further.
Mr. Chair, members of the board. Thank you. I'm just looking to schedule a special assessment hearing for November 28th, 2017, specifically at 9:30 a.m. It'd be a timed agenda. This is a relatively small assessment from sorry, Mr. Chair, but a public health cleanup that we did last year, and the amount of $535 for compliance inspection on a septic system. So just looking at getting it on the rolls. The reason for the delay here is I wanted to see if anything else would come up this year, and this invoice came in from the inspector in about August. We did this last December, so there was a delay in getting.
And you said it was at 9:30? You put a time on it?
9:30 a.m., yes.
9:30?
Mr. Chair?
Yes, go ahead.
You said it was for a septic system?
Yes, the property, when we inspected it, the person was not using their sanitary facilities on their property. Instead, we're using an alternative means. There was a suspicion at that time, given what we found, that the septic system maybe was not functioning properly.
So they did a minor repair.
We did a compliance inspection first to see if that was the issue. It actually ended up passing, so that's where it stopped.
No.
So after the compliance, it was okay then?
Yeah, it passed.
So then we still charge for the inspection?
Yes.
I'm not sure we should be doing that. If everything was in order, then you could just have an inspection on anybody, couldn't you?
Well, if the person was using the proper facilities on their property, we wouldn't have had to do this inspection.
Oh, and you had evidence of that?
Yes.
Oh, I don't want to hear about it.
It was not pleasant.
Thank you.
Thank you,
All right.
Mr. Chair.
I'm not going to show you photographs.
Mr. Chair, Greg?
Yes.
So we don't need to act on the resolution at this time?
The resolution sets the date.
All right.
This is a resolution
Just to set
setting
the
the
date?
date. Yep.
Okay. Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to set that hearing for November 28th at 9:30
And to adopt the resolution.
and adopt the resolution.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Hewsome, second by Commissioner Potter. And this will be a roll call vote. Commissioner Vetch, let's start with you.
Aye.
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 Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, and then we are on, that's all you had, Bob, this morning? Okay, Wright County Highway Engineer, Mr. Virgil Hawkins. Good morning, Virgil.
Good morning, Chairman Burrell and Board of Commissioners. I have two items for your consideration this morning. The first of which is to approve resolution and final acceptance for the 2016 pavement preservation projects with Knife River, an authorized final payment of $25,000.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to approve the resolution for the final acceptance of payments for
I'll second that.
$25,000.
Motion by Commissioner Potter, second by Commissioner Vetch. Commissioner Potter, we'll start with you this time.
Aye.
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 Okay, resolution carries unanimous.
No discussion.
Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
Yes.
Could we have some discussion now?
Oh, you know what? I apologize for that. Go ahead.
Just curious on which one it was.
That was the,
Virgil, explain what we just passed.
Roads having
It really doesn't state.
So this was a contract, in your packet, you should have a map of all the projects that were
Oh, so
done.
this was for all the different,
Yeah, the contract included all of these.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
This one,
That's all right.
those other ones.
Yeah.
I was just trying to get it defined.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, Virgil, County Road 131 looks great. It'll probably be the nicest road forever now.
We're hoping it'll last years and years.
Okay, and then we have another, this is not a resolution though, but you're asking to approve.
Yes, item 2, we have to approve the American Disabilities Act Pedestrian Facilities Transition Plan for our county highways right-of-ways. And this is a requirement that all Minnesota counties approve, so they have a transition plan in place so we don't jeopardize any federal dollars. The MnDOT's requiring all counties do this, and so we've just completed our plan. We had a public meeting, public hearing, and so this is the final plan, and I'd like to get it approved.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead, Commissioner Delaney.
at your public hearing, did you have any concerns, or did anybody even show up?
We had 0 people attend. And that sounds like it's pretty common, checking with other counties too.
Well, these are for kind of road, rural intersections, which
Correct.
really, for the most part, I think is kind of silly that the feds.
So, Mr. Chair, Virgil, so in like a county park that crosses a county road, does that have to be listed on this as an intersection? Like a trailway that meets up with the county road?
Yes.
So, okay, so.
Did you see that list?
That's
Yeah,
a
I
long
see that
list.
list. That's what I was wondering, because some of these ones I was kind of quick, so that's.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, go ahead, Commissioner.
just for the rest of the commissioners thing, this is a case of federal extortion. Either you pass it or we'll withhold it from you. Because they do a lot of things like this. We don't care if you like it or not. You're just going to pass it, otherwise we're going to withhold money. They do it all the time. Because there are some of these intersections in here, I know most of them are more urban than the rural part, that have a heck of a time trying to make those without major cost involved. Granted, you want to accommodate as much as you can, but common sense has to enter the picture at some point in time. And for some reason, they don't look at that part of it. They just like, okay, you got to comply A, B, and C, and that's it.
Yeah, and this is a law that's been on the books since 1993.
Yeah.
And just nobody, a lot of agencies haven't really enforced the law, and there were some high-profile federal cases of discrimination in Pennsylvania and California where agencies got sued for millions of dollars. And so since that time, there's been an emphasis to get these kind of plans approved, but still haven't been approved, so now they've kind of put this, better do it or else lose federal dollars, and so everybody's doing it now.
The cities are struggling with this more than the counties are. You have old infrastructure, old buildings here to meet the ADA. It's just a bugger to try to get the slopes and everything perfect without interfering with the buildings and parking lots and right-of-way concerns. I mean, our struggle is bad enough. The cities have a tougher struggle with this one, especially if it's got old infrastructure.
And
Brand new cities, no. Older ones,
And what we're doing as part of our plan in Appendix B, our schedule is, we're going to make these improvements to comply with the law as we do our projects, our reconstruction projects, so it's
Yep.
something we'll do over time. So it'll happen over a period of many years.
Isn't this what they're also looking for as you get these projects? Some of them you're addressing it then.
Right, yeah.
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead, Commissioner Delayden.
What's truncated domes?
Yes. In urban areas where there's curb and gutter and sidewalks, there are those little rectangular things with the little dimples on them or nubs that stick up. Those are called truncated domes, and it's an audible, or not audible, but something that people can feel it.
Yep.
And when you're coming to a corner, those are called truncated domes.
And that's for on the pedestrian side, or no? That's for the.
It's built into the pedestrian ramp.
Doesn't 37 have one of those in Maple Lake? Some of those are kind of like a rumble strip.
We have a lot of them.
Rumble strip type thing, or you let you know that stop sign's coming up.
Yes.
Oh, it's so it's on the roadway, not on the sidewalk.
It's on the sidewalk. It's in the pedestrian
Oh, that
ramp.
one's on the sidewalk,
Yeah.
okay.
Where the curb is brought down and pedestrians go onto the sidewalk. It's right there.
So it's kind of part of the ramp then.
It's part of the pedestrian ramp.
That's part of,
They're rectangular and they're usually red in color.
And that's what's required now? Is that part of the newest requirements?
Yes.
fun. Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the ADA transition plan for the county.
I'll second it.
Motion by Commissioner Potter, second by Commissioner Delayden. Further discussion?
I was just curious, I mean, when I was looking through these yesterday, I was wondering, how many are there? There's any idea how many there are? We're talking...
How many separate?
Yeah, on the list here.
Yeah, the separate, actually places where we potentially have pedestrian ramps, there's 937.
Okay.
And
There's
how
a
much,
lot.
and every one of them will have to have that truncated dome?
Eventually,
Not all of them.
not everyone, but as there's sidewalks brought to these
What's the
areas.
cost to do an intersection like that?
Well, we're going to do them as we do projects, so
Right.
it would be just what we normally spend anyway, because we're required to meet standards. But if we did them all separately now and just went out and did them as a project, it'd probably be about $3 or $4 million.
Okay, so, but it will be 3 or 4 million, but it's as we do the project.
Well, in some of these rural locations, quite frankly, you'll never have a need for them because there'll never be sidewalks or trails.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead,
do
Commissioner.
we want to make a lid out of this?
All right. Okay, further discussion. Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries unanimous. Thank you, Virgil.
Thank you.
Items for consideration, committee minutes of the whole committee of the whole for October 19th. Commissioner Vetch, would you be able to take
All
them?
right, thank you, Mr. Chair. Committee of the Whole was held on October 19th. Members present were Vetch, Hewsome, Dahl, Iden, Potter, Burrell, and Kelly. Others present are Asselson, Dahl, Goodrum, Hevela, Johnson, and Scott Enter, Chair of Wright County Area Transit. Wright County, WCAT, or Wright County Area Transit, has been meeting with myself and Commissioner Potter in drafting up a possible involvement with Wright County in WCAT. Basically, a preliminary joint powers agreement was drafted with the input from myself and Commissioner Potter and members of the WCAT board to come up with a preliminary venture. The venture consists of about a 50%, or does consist of a 50% weight by the county and a 50% of WCAT for fiscal, or for voting powers for year one, and a 50-50 fiscal with a $100,000 cap for financials for year one of 28, with the inception of 2018. In 2019, the county would pay a 60% expense with a 40 to WCAT, 70-30, 80-20, and 90-10, with a call date of the JPA agreement at the end of January of 2022, if not done prior.
I'm sorry, you said January?
December 31st of, sorry.
That's what is listed here. I just wanted to make.
Sorry.
No problem.
December 31st of 2022, if So your risk manager, Tim Dahl, had indicated that maybe February before insurance could be in place. Dahl said WCAT is a legal entity composed of cities but is not insured. If WCAT continues to operate, he recommends that the county insure it. The process takes time. He's exploring insurance through the Minnesota Intergovernmental Trust and the League of Minnesota Cities. Budgetary information and bylaws need to be provided to the carrier. So that process is ensuing at this point. The phase-out was taking place because members of WCAT have invested a lot of effort and money into the regional transportation. It was felt that it was best achieved by a slow attrition of the involvement of WCAT to give them say on their previous investments and to help them feel comfortable in the phase-out process. Sorry, I'm just trying to skim here a second. So as the funding for WCAT or Trailblazer as a whole is an 85% state and federal funds and a roughly 5% of ridership and 10% local share. That final 5 and 10 is a fluctuating number based on ridership. It is primarily funded entirely by state and federal funds. Health and Human Services stated that their department currently is paying a premium for medical assistant rides for clients. Her department does not have the time to arrange rides or billing medical assistance for small transportation. She said Health and Human supports a more robust transit system, but discussion was also had as to we would need to find out a way that to involve billing directly from Trailblazer for medical assistance. That wasn't exactly noted in there, but that was discussed. The final item discussed at the Committee of the Whole is whether they were comfortable allocating the $600,000 as a board to WCAT on January 1 of 2018, even though they may not have no insurance coverage until February. Dahl said, Risk Manager Dahl said that the biggest risk is a liability claim such as misappropriation or discrimination. The worst case would be uncovered claims, in which case the entity would have to agree on sharing any incurred cost. Although the individual entities within WCAT are insured, the entity comprised of a group would not automatically be covered. The WCAT board will vote on the JPA agreement in November. The cities will vote in November, and then the county board somewhere around the end of November. It would come back to us after it goes to the individual cities and the WCAT board again for a final approval on the draft of a revised JPA agreement. Potter recommended the board authorize $600,000 in reserve account for operations plus an $100,000 in additional as necessary for 2018. County Coordinator Lee Kelly said that the money will be pulled from reserves as the 2018 budget has already been sent. The consensus was that Potter and Vetch will serve as the liaisons to the WCAT. Recommendations are the authorized allocation of $700,000 to WCAT for 2018, noting that $600,000 in a reserve account for operations plus $100,000 additional as necessary. Potter and Vetch will work with WCAT as representatives of the county board and move forward with the current draft of the Wright County Area Transit Joint Powers Agreement with modifications as necessary. With that, I will make a motion for the approval of the minutes from the October 19th Committee of the Whole for Transit.
I'll second that.
Motion by Commissioner Vetch, and I'll give that one to Commissioner Hughes. Okay. And then I did express concerns at the Committee of the Whole. I know the overall recommendation is to do this. Part of my concerns is just what I see is like the expansion, buying a bunch of buses. When I look around and I see empty buses driving all around, and I'm like, why do we need to buy more buses? So I'm going to oppose the recommendation on that end. I have no problem with you and Mike representing us on the thing, but it's just, I think the dollar figure, I mean, how we went for how many years without transit costing the county anything, and now here we're gonna be into it for $700,000. I can't support it. So.
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead.
For clarification, that $600,000 never goes away, and it could eventually get refunded back to the county, because that's just for operations for them to operate till they get paid from the state. So as time goes on and it gets built up, reserves at Trailblazer, it's very possible that we could get that money back sooner. If Trailblazer ever goes defunct, that money will always be there for us to receive back, because it's strictly for operations.
We've been told that, I guess.
Well, it worked out fine with River Rider, so I see no reason why.
Well, that was a totally different organization there, because River Rider never cost the counties that were participating money. They actually added to their reserves, whereas Trailblazer has, to my knowledge, never demonstrated anything but losing money.
Well, that was then, this is now.
See, but I will note though, Mr. Chair, because I just got these numbers this morning, the WCAT's total cost over the last 4 years is total cost is $86,000, but $50,000 of that we gave them from old River Rider funds. So actually the cost to each individual WCAT city over the last 4 years is $36,000 total. Divide that out, it was very marginal, and the majority of that was for capital improvement costs. And that's where this $100,000, we set that as a cap. I mean, we might not even spend all $100,000, and the other reason we're doing this is we have an opportunity for funds for buses that will be going away. It's not, because if we don't buy it now and make these investments and set the rider, Michael, you can probably help.
The level of service.
Level of service, that's the words I was looking for. At that rate that we want, especially because we do have turned down rides in areas, that's the reason we need to be at least a little bit proactive off the start. And we also want to maximize the city's contribution on year one. They're partnering with us, so it would be prudent for us when they want to spend it, they want the ride, they want us to make a robust system, we might as well partner with them and get the money up front and meet them when they're going to meet us 50-50 on it.
And Mr. Chair, when River Rider started, there were funds that came in, even like Corona Township threw in money, and so money did come from the county, and it might have been townships or cities.
Did Corona ever get their money back?
Not that I know of.
Oh.
So I wasn't on the River Rider.
Doesn't bode well for us getting ours back, then, does it?
Well, it should.
Yes, go ahead.
One of the other things with the dollars there, like Commissioner Delyden stated, the $600,000 just stays there. That's just so until you get reimbursed. So you have to have that. That's a MnDOT requirement to have 25% of reserves. Then the change in that is because when this started growing, McLeod County was covering all this until they got reimbursed. Now it's gotten to the size where they're uncomfortable covering that much, and the percentage of service that Wright County is now 45% of the total rides in Trailblazer, and I anticipate that by next year probably going up to 50-55%, and pretty soon we'll be the lion's share of everything. Right. The level of service, this is an important year for us with that $100,000, because if we can convince MnDOT to supply us with the 6 buses that we need to make our level of service there, because then you're going to be locked into that, because in my district there, St. Michael's #1 in turn down rides. I mean, there's just not enough buses there to get the people around. And Albertville's not too far behind. I don't think Otsego or Monticello is too far behind that. I mean, these are the fast-growing end of the county that now are seeing this. That's where most of them buses are going to be deployed, is over in that neighborhood. And I do share the concern that you have with them riding around empty, but they have reports on every shift of every bus utilization, because sometimes, because of shift changes, they're going to or coming from someplace, and MnDOT looks at those pretty close on this bus isn't driving around empty for 8 hours. They're not, because they'll defund that really quick. They have to fill out reports, and I know they have those available, and I was hoping to get one before this meeting, but I didn't get one. But this is a critical year for us to get that level of service up there, because once we're there, then we're locked into that number, and that maintenance level is there with MnDOT too.
And Mr. Chair, we should be happy to be involved in an organization that is ran as well as it is. I just got some other numbers that, as of right now, which is a interesting key point, is that Trailblazer banked approximately $180,000 in excess operating revenue over the past 2 years, which is in all respects unheard of. And the other side of it is that they're expected to have over 240,000 rides this year. Oh, it's expected to be over 240,000 rides.
How many of them are paid for, though?
As far as,
Because they do things, and I was told this by one of their drivers, that they'll have an aide that will be on one of their routes, and then every stop, they count that aide if they get off the bus and get on, and it just, then it's not a paid ride. And I'd like to know, the actual ridership, you'd want to know how many are actually paid rides.
I will find out that answer for you.
Appreciate that.
Mr. Chair. I'm not going to speculate whether that happens or doesn't happen.
Yeah. But I know the particular driver I talked to was real uncomfortable doing that, but he was told that's what he was told to do, and it just to make things look good, so.
Well, there's a newer board on the Trailblazer Transit Board too, so maybe some of the things weren't as efficient at one time, but I think those are improving too.
Well, you still have the same manager there.
Well, okay. So, Mr. Chair, I call for the vote.
All right. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, aye. Motion carries 4-1. If I counted right. Didn't hear
I
that.
don't know, can you count right? Don't take your
Okay.
socks off, let's just figure it out here.
Yeah.
I'm gonna use my
Wait a
fingers.
second.
I'm gonna use my
Wait,
fingers too.
I'll stand up and then I'll sit down and then I can vote again, right?
Everybody raise your right hand and then you'll use your left.
Okay. We need to set the committee meeting dates for November and December. So, Lee, could you want to talk to that?
Mr. Chair, in past years, we have set a single committee date for November and December respectively. Typically, it's been in the middle of the month. I would propose that we do that, selecting November 15th and December 13th as the two proposed days.
And
However,
then just regular committee times then, whatever?
it'd be the morning, yes.
Okay.
So we can do it on the 13th and the 15th?
Mr. Chair?
Yes, go ahead, Commissioner Houston.
One of the commissioners will be on KRWC those dates, so we just would have to schedule our committees around those times,
13th and the 20th
the 15th and the 13th.
of December?
Wait,
Or,
wait. Sorry, 20th. Yeah.
because you said that, are you going to do it
The
the December?
It's the third,
Also, it's the 20th of December then.
yeah.
Well, first off, we're talking November 15th, right?
November 15th, yeah, I'll be on
Right.
KRWC that day, so.
Will be?
Yes, that would be the conflict, being that it's a third Wednesday of the month, whereas December 13th would only be the second Tuesday.
So
by the
then,
way it
Thank
falls.
you.
then we just have to schedule, if there was a committee meeting for Commissioner Houston, schedule it either earlier or later.
Correct.
We should be able to do that.
Or both.
Or both, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, 8:30 would probably generally work, so.
And then for December, you're looking at the 13th?
That was the proposal, yes.
Okay. I'll make a motion to change committee days from what we normally have to November 15th. Times to be determined based off of what's scheduled on those days. And December 13th.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Delighten, second by Commissioner Houston.
Who's on the radio on the 13th? No, that's not, because it's the
20th.
20th, that's right, never mind.
So we're canceling the committee day on the 20th, and we're canceling committee day on the 22nd, or the 22nd November and the 20th of December?
Yeah, we're only gonna have one.
One each month.
One in each month, so
We're canceling the
So
8th, and we're
canceling all
canceling.
but those two.
all but those two, okay.
Commissioner Vetch, this is pretty much traditional, what's happened the last 2 months of the year. We pare it down because of holidays, conflicts, everything else.
Yep.
Is,
Okay, further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries unanimous. And then schedule a committee of the whole meeting regarding the elected department head salaries. Please?
Yep, Mr. Chair, by statute, we are required to set the elected officials' salaries annually based on the Minnesota statutes. Additionally, because we will have some elections coming up, we will have to also set a minimum salary for each of those positions for next year. So I would propose we look at a date in November. Again, it has to be done by the end of the year. I didn't have a specific date and time picked out, and I haven't consulted with the 3 elected officials to see if they have.
What's the soonest do you think you'd want it in November?
If you're looking at Tuesdays, I might move it out to November 21st, just knowing we have a busy date on the 14th and the 7th potentially, or we could look at a Wednesday.
Wednesday, the 22nd would work for me.
Or a Monday before Health and Human Services.
21st wouldn't work for you?
The 21st would, 22nd wouldn't. The 13th, the Monday on the 20th, you're talking about the 20th or the 13th?
Why don't we do the 21st? Does that work?
Yeah.
We're here for board
10:30?
anyway.
Yeah, I think that would
We'll
be a
be done
good date.
before WCAT's 2 o'clock in the afternoon, but we could
Okay.
get that.
Yeah,
done.
yeah, we should be able to be fine still making WCAT by then.
Why don't we do Tuesday, you want to call it 10:30, 11 o'clock, or
Let's call it 10:30.
10:30, Tuesday? Okay.
Perfect.
On Tuesday, the 21st.
Correct.
Okay, we'll need a motion for that apparently.
So moved.
Second?
Motion by Commissioner Potter, second by Commissioner Vetch. Further discussion to set the elected department head salaries meeting for Tuesday, the 21st of November at 10:30. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. And then we need to schedule a committee of the whole for the space study. It looks like we have a date already picked out on the 14th.
Yes, that was a date recommended or suggested by the architect firm. That'll be where they're at the point of the project where they'll be ready to present some more things, more concrete, including some pricing and those sorts of details as far as phasing on the different plan options that have been discussed at this point. So I wanted to see if that date, the 14th of November at 1:30 in the afternoon would work.
Well, Commissioner Potter and I might as well just spend the day here because
We will be here, yes.
we have extension meeting right after that then, so
We have ditch meeting on the 12th.
at 11 o'clock I have.
11 o'clock.
Yeah.
From 11 to 12,
yes.
I got it.
Oh, okay, yeah.
11 o'clock.
And the 9 o'clock board meeting and with the tobacco ordinance on that meeting as well, so.
Then I have a mental health meeting at 3, so, yeah.
Yeah,
1:30.
it'll be a busy day for us. We'll earn our keep that day, I guess, so.
So Chair, I'll make a
And we're
motion to
bringing back
schedule
the lid,
committee of
too,
the whole
on that
meeting for 11/14 at 1:30 for the space study.
I'll second that.
Motion by Commissioner Potter, second by Commissioner Houston. Further discussion?
Mr. Chair,
Go
just
ahead.
so that you're all aware of it, and I think majority of you have been, is there are drawings on the back regarding the space study,
Okay.
so that, I'll get a chance to look at it before.
And we did have, I know Commissioner Vetch and I were talking with Coordinator Kelly earlier, but I think we got an answer. They're all for a 20-year period. Commissioner Vetch and I thought maybe they would do this too, where they would have, here's a 5-year, here's a 10-year, and here's a 20-year with the cost. But on the other hand, I don't think I would be interested in anything that was going to last less than 20 years either, so.
Well, you might be if you had a very small price tag that you could say, hey, we can crawl by for till
5 years, yeah.
5 years till a couple bonds fall off.
5 years is not going to be worth it.
No, but
10 years minimum.
10 years
10.
possible, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that, but I mean, you want to spend $15 million if that's what it was.
But I guess yes, go ahead.
It's good to have the answer, 5, 10, 20. It's still good to have the answer.
I don't know if
We
5
know it's not
years-
going to, but that's when we did the court remodeling study.
Yeah.
It had all the.
But that was almost dismissed right away.
But that's why I think even messing with a 5-year plan just isn't worth the money. The time or effort even taken into it, just because of what we did with the courts.
I
I
do
do know it's going to be like that.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm mostly not saying necessarily 5-year, but kind of the least expensive option. That's kind of what I call is not necessarily 5-year, but the kind of the least expensive option to buy time.
Okay, I brought it up just because if there was a concern to be with members, to talk to Coordinator Kelly and then get with the architects, so they would be able to answer any questions that we might have, so, okay.
Yeah, the only question I had, and I already asked Coordinator Kelly, is I'd like to know how much square foot each department is currently using. And then I can kind of
Current versus proposed,
Okay.
like a chart, current.
Well,
Square
yeah,
foot
current
proposed.
proposed, you know, either way, just so that I can kind of compare what we have, what they have now compared to what
Is in the
the
plan.
future
because there's
needs.
some of the things on there that don't make sense to me, but
other
maybe
thing-
once they explain it better, maybe.
And Mr. Chair, I wanted to know, and we were discussing it the other day, is what is staff support space?
Yeah, I think
Yeah, there's
that's
all
what
this
it's called.
blue space on there. It says staff support what is that?
At this point, we're still at the blocking phase where we're not really designing within spaces, so some of that is kind of currently unassigned. Might end up as a conference room or a break room or a janitor's closet, depending on what's needed. They've also talked about using that as the nursing mother spaces. So different things could move there as we get further into the schematic design.
Okay, we were just trying to figure out,
What is that?
was there going to be closets where they're going to put all the paper and the pens and all that sort of stuff, or, because some of it was pretty large.
That's what I was like, wow.
Okay, anyway, let's, any questions, like I said, bring it up to Coordinator Kelly. All,
Yeah, we already voted.
no, we're gonna know.
Okay.
So all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries unanimous. Okay, advisory committee, advisory boards updates. Commissioner Potter, you're always good at starting this off.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair. A few items today. First off, last Thursday, the 19th, the 94 Coalition met in Rogers. We talked about the DC fly-in and how that actually worked out pretty good for that. We get to talk with some representatives from Jason Lewis, but not as inner circle primary people. We're still working on that one. He's been a busy congressman out there. It's hard to get him trying to get to his inner circle. We'll keep working on that one. The Quarters of Commerce update, it appears that MnDOT is leaning, and the state legislature is leaning towards releasing all that Quarters of Commerce money in one big chunk, the $450 million, instead of small snippets like they take it over a 4-year period, which bodes well for 94 because of the $71 million price tag from St. Michael to Albertville, including a bridge and some collector distributor roads. So it's looking good for that if that keeps going away. The MnDOT has a public input for the scoring criteria, which is it was required by the legislature to do this, but you kind of get that feeling that it's just window dressing. We're doing what you want, but Joe Q. Public doesn't have a clue how you score a road in funding this. So people are going to chime in, but in the end, I'm sure MnDOT's going to score it the way they want to score it anyway. And we talked about the freight application updates, some transportation economic development application updates, because those timelines are coming up quick. Also with the 94 Coalition, the city of Maple Grove indicated that the 610 extension that was in the transportation plan adopted by Wright County in 94 and 2004 included 610 all the way to Wright County and take County Road 144 and continue that all the way 55. So the Buffalo, what they call the Buffalo between Hanover and Rockford, that road there would be the 610 extension in 55. It's kind of a pie in the sky dream. I'm not sure if MnDOT is still on that, because when these were done, this was back in the dream big days. But that is in the corridors, and I have some study maps on this, and they asked us to refresh it and still include this in just in case the legislature does something. So anybody who wants to see this, I'll have a copy of this for them to look at. It would be, in a perfect world, it'd be a great extension there, but I'm not sure if the money is going to be there for that kind of project. The next item is last Friday, I met with the Wright County Economic Development Partnership in Waverly. We did not have a quorum, so we couldn't conduct any business. We just discussed some of the things here. One of the things we have the Wright County, what makes Wright County great video, and I'm looking to have that added to our website, or at least a link to the website here, so people can see this, because they have it up on YouTube right now, and it's not one that people would see right off the bat, and I don't think the views are that high, but if it gets onto the county website with a link or a view there, I think you have a lot more people are going to see what Wright County has to offer, which helps with the profile, raising our profile there. The other thing is that they do have a plan for Commissioner Burrell's deal with the raise your own money for greater MSP. The private partners that we have definitely have seen the value in it for them, and they are fine with raising their own money to continue on that. We'd already paid the money to greater MSP July 1st so we're good until July 1st of next year, and after that it's Economic Development Partnership, and they're going to make sure that the line item is there to prove to Commissioner Burrell that that is not public money being used for, and that it's private money.
And they're not lowering they're not just shifting their dues that they're paying now over to that.
They will
I want
make
to
sure
see that.
They will make sure that line item is very clear for you to see that it's private money was raised for that.
Good deal.
Because I reiterated that, because if next year rolls around, if they can't prove that.
Well, it's not just that it was raised for that they didn't shift their dues that they're now paying to that.
No, and that's what they want to make sure that they can prove to you, that it's private money that was raised. They'll have their own entries and line items for that.
Sounds good.
So it's talked about the revolving loan funds that they have are all current, and they're doing good. We've had some new members in there. Buffalo is now back part of the Economic Development Partnership, which it wasn't for a long time. It dropped out for some reason, but Terry Lockemeyer saw the value in it where before they didn't, and so that's good, because that is a strong player to come in with this, because it's kind of tough when your economic development should a Wright County and the county seat isn't part of it. It kind of sends a different signal. So it's all good there. We've had a few people drop out of the membership, and most of them we do our own like our website thing, and a couple other ones that were just there for a couple of years and budget cuts or whatever take it. The next item is Monday. I was at district.
Excuse me. Regarding the video, have you talked to Adam about that video at all, or you want me to just talk to him about it?
I believe the web committee should be the one to talk to them, because then they make sure that the right people get the right words and it's in there.
Okay, I'll make sure it gets on the agenda then for the next. In fact, the next web committee is Thursday this week, I believe.
Because
make sure I bring it up then.
Something good. I just want to make sure it's following the proper protocol, because we want to make sure with the web committee that they're aware of everything that's going on there, just to make sure we don't have conflicts there.
Okay.
And Mr. Chair, the next one was the District 5 meeting, which was in Center City. That's all the way at the furthest end of the district, and I can see how Chisago County, when they have to go to Meeker County, that's one heck of a drive for them too.
Yep.
Pretty area, a lot of lakes and that. They have a really nice location there at the end of the road and overlooking a lake, which is kind of really pretty there. But we had it was not as well attended as other ones, because it's way at the end, plus people had other conflicts going on Monday. This is the first time that District Director Felix Schmiesing from Sherburne County was there. He did a pretty good job. I mean, Dwayne Merrick is no getting better than that gentleman as far as being organized. And he's just top shelf there. But Felix I think did a great job. We had Rich Svay from Lake County did a little presentation. He's running for second vice president. I believe he's the only one running for second vice president. And Mary Jo McGuire wasn't there, but she's rerunning for secretary treasurer. Joel Brott from Sherburne County did a jail accreditation presentation with Elise, I believe her name was, from that's their version of the Captain O'Malley. I believe, is what, similar to that. And what it took, it was a long process. There's only 2 in this state that are accredited, Hennepin County and Sherburne County. There's 1 in South Dakota, 1 in Iowa, 0 in North Dakota, and 0 in Wisconsin that are accredited. It goes all the way down. It was kind of mundane, some of the things they had to talk about and do, all the way down to what was the temperature in the shower. Monitor that.
And if you're accredited, what benefit is there?
That for taking federal?
Well, they already had a federal contract, and I'm not sure what the accreditation, if it gets you more points. That was kind of the gray area. I couldn't quite comprehend what do you really get out of this, but
we're accredited.
Yeah.
But they are accredited, But our crime lab, when that got accredited, that was a big step.
That's a different situation.
Right.
But and it was a good presentation, and Lisa did a good job of explaining what they have to do, and of the 60 required mandates and the 300 and some non-required. They got all the required ones done, and they only missed 3 of them or 7 of them of the non-required, and they were just not really anything critical. And the thing is, the point they made is it's just a couple weeks after they got accredited and got all their thing, then they had the suicide in the jail. But they said all the protocols and all the regulations all were met right up, the checks and everything were all there up to it, so they're not going to see any backlash. But it says it was just ironic, you just the week after we get this accreditation, we have this coming out the jail, and it's kind of different. In the report, and thank you, Coordinator Kelly, for having that on there. I talked about that and submitted that, so anybody that got their email could have saw what Coordinator Kelly had there. The only things I added is a little bit about the WCAT transit, restructuring of the jail debt, and opening pods 3 and potentially 4. And the other thing is the 25 coalition about the regional connections with transportation, because that was the #1 of the balloting of the 3 items to bring forward for the legislative platform. The transportation, my committee hit 1, 2, and 3. All of them got mine, which is good. We also had we had the highest levy increase, preliminary levy increase of all of them. The next highest was, I believe, Isanti County at 5.53. Benton County came in lowest again at 1.1. But that's just how they run their organization. But they're kind of, we also had by far the highest growth of anybody.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we were double the next closest person. So that was a little kind of good on the, and we're, like I say, we're looking at the, those kind of numbers. 254 is our highest number for new construction in 1 year. That was 2007 coming on, and we're going to be knocking on that door within a couple of years here. They did talk about the River's Edge Convention Center, how they're moving, and the annual meeting for 2019 will be in Doubletree and Bloomington. So then the old Radisson area, which they moved away from before for some reason. They don't know why. They say it was we outgrew the venue. But the nice thing about that location is everybody can be in the same hotel at the same place with all the whole everything being right there, which is kind of nice. And Bloomington wanted us back, and they made a pretty aggressive pitch for it.
Is Bloomington in Hennepin County?
Yes. And of all the things going on there, we do have a legislative preview. The legislature starts February 20th this year. It's a short session, and we have a hospital. We're going to have like a legislative couple days at the Intercontinental Hotel to get back into what they had before and they got away from. Now they found that they need to get back to that just before session, or just during the first week of session, to get legislators down there to know what our issues are. So that'll be February 28th and March 1st. It's kind of nice. We've got a few people lined up for coming down and talking to us already. And also, it's one of those things where buses to the Capitol and that just try to get us back on the map, so we're at the leading edge of forethought of some of the legislators down there. And let's see, and all the county reports that were in there are similar both to us. The biggest surprise to me was Meeker County, who has been traditionally doing very little, don't spend no money, don't do anything. They've got more projects on the books right now than we do. I mean, that was just surprising the heck out of me when Joe, he's a newer commissioner from Meeker County, made the report. I was just one after another, from jail to the government center to the highway shop to this to that. I mean, it looks like they're doing it all this year coming up. That's all I have, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Houston.
Thanks. Yeah, I just have a couple of quick ones. Went to the first of the year Annandale Safe Schools meeting last week, and their not registration, their enrollment is up quite a bit, and they're off to a good start. We've had now 20 years of safe school meetings, and they're just a great way to get input from all the schools and what's going on. Of course, we have the new superintendent out there, Tim Prom, and a new middle school principal who Annandale got from Buffalo, Jeff Erickson. So he's got a lot of good ideas they're talking about and initiating different things. So we'll look forward to hearing more about that at our next meeting. And we also have the law library meeting, and we set our budget for the coming year, 2018. We also talked a little bit about, they've been meeting with BKV to address their new digs when they move out to the court facility, and so we kind of looked at some of the configurations of furniture and that kind of thing, but and just an appreciation for all the attorneys that come in and donate time to help people that have a lot of legal questions if they can't afford an attorney and that kind of thing. So, and I mentioned last week the high numbers of people that are coming in. They had like over 600 cases that they were working on. So that's about it.
Okay.
Summary.
And last Wednesday I was on the tour group with Soil Water, and we toured quite a few of the different soil erosion basin projects that were put in. A big one up by Cokato Lake Campgrounds that has really helped the flooding issue up there, and they're really glad that it's in. And then the big thing that I really got a kick out of was the limestone filter thing out at Mink Summers Lake.
They're very happy with that.
Yeah. And so anyway, it just doesn't handle a lot of capacity. That's the thing, though, because then once it gets so high, it goes over an overflow and then it gets bypassed. So hopefully we just get small rain events and can keep feeding the water in steady. But if you get a big rain event, it gets bypassed. So it's just not big enough, I guess, to handle the entire capacity of what comes in. So anyway, it was interesting.
It wasn't a cheap project either.
No.
It wasn't bad though for what you look at what was done out there. It was like
15, I think.
115,000.
But
I mean,
a lot of it was grant money, which is nice. It's a great thing.
And they
did you say they removed 90% of the phosphorus that comes in?
The water coming in to going out, and I said it's 90% reduction.
I mean, that's huge.
Oh yeah, it is. That'll keep the lake, help keep the lake from turning green.
Okay, that's all I had.
Last week I met with the small group regarding the new website that will be coming up. Went over some of the requests from the public because we had put out a survey. The jail was the #1 thing that people are searching for based off of the numbers, and then employment was right up there too, and then the GIS Beacon program. So there's some good suggestions from there. Unfortunately, I can't remember anything off the top of my head. But I know some of them will be getting implemented. One of the things that the new website will be is that it'll be much easier to see on the phone
Okay.
and on the tablets and that stuff. It'll be designed to be able to work with those, which our current one really isn't. So
Okay.
it will make it better for those. And then I talked with Fred Brankston from DNR regarding Lake Pelican Lake. And I've got a letter here that he sent to all the landowners around there, and I'll throw this in the back. For
Actually, I think we got the email on that too. You emailed.
Did I forward it all to you? Oh, good. Oh, okay.
I got that one.
So, okay. Did you read it?
Let the record reflect that you didn't have to send.
I didn't fax him. I didn't text him either.
You told me.
Oh, I told you. Oh, that explains it. But for the public, they started outletting in December 18 of 2014. And this summer they took off about approximately 2 feet of water. And the lake right now is at approximately 950.9. The new managed level will be at 950.7. So they're going to drop it an additional 2 feet, I believe it was, 2 to 3 feet. And then nature, 4 feet. It'll go down to 946. And then it'll probably take 2 to 3 years to get it down to there, and then the lake will naturally return back up to 950.7. And that's where they're going to hope that they'll keep it maintained at that level. They claim that the water quality has improved, and I talked to actually one of the DNR who just retired guys with the badges.
Not Strobel? No.
No. Anyway, he's from St. Michael, but he just retired.
No.
Conservation officer.
Oh.
And he says the water out there is dramatic. He says it's greatly improved. And they said there's a lot more ducks out there. The duck feed has come back dramatically because the water's lower now. And he was saying that on duck opener or waterfowl opener, to me, I don't know if there's a difference. I'm not a hunter. But he says there were about 160 vehicles
Really?
around different parking spots throughout that area. So, and he said that in the past there really haven't been that many. So they say it is coming back. So that's all I got.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Batch.
Well, a week and a half ago, I had the pleasure of touring our largest tax contributing parcel in the county. I had the pleasure of going through the Monticello Nuclear Power Plant. It's an amazing tour.
I thought you went to the Albertville Mall.
I know.
That's second. That's okay.
You know, I was wondering when we turned the lights off the other day why he was glowing. I just thought he was happy, but now I understand why.
Go ahead, sorry.
I got the pleasure of touring it with a handful of legislators. We'll be entering into a interesting phase here starting in 2019 to 2022. Xcel Energy will be doing their survey, kind of creating a report that they'll turn out in 2022 that will determine the future of that plant. They will make a determination of whether they are going to move by 2020, between now and 2022, they'll make that report that'll come out that'll say, hey, we're going to lobby to try and get an extension on our license, or no, we will go the route of trying to shut it down. So it's important that we look at it as an area, the importance, the number of employment that's out there, the amount of energy that's produced, and support them in this process, in the venture that they want to go with this. I would love to see it be able to continue to operate, and I think that there is some likelihood that that could happen because there is some out there that have gone beyond that 60-year mark. So it's not unheard of to do that.
60 years?
They've gotten.
That's how long it's been there?
Well, at the end of its licensing, it'll be in 2030. It'll
2030?
Be 2030. It'll be at its 60-year mark.
Oh, okay.
But they're some not within the Xcel portfolio, but in some of the other portfolios for energy companies, they have extended them out another 20 years to 80 and 90 years to 20 and 30 years. So it's not unheard of, but it's definitely something that we want to keep an eye on as a county and communicate with Xcel Energy and work with the legislators because it's a major impact to us here as a county.
Oh, yes.
Well, you know, if you're using a coal-fired plant, if you mothball it, whatever, and all of a sudden you don't have enough energy based off of wind and solar, it takes a while to ramp that back up. Natural gas ones that they're going to, but it's immediate.
Yep.
How about a nuclear plant? I mean,
well, nuclear plant runs constant. You don't shut. I mean, they shut it down, but I mean, right now they are going on a record. What is it? He just said they are looking at just about. They'll be running 700 days straight without it.
But that would be like your heat pumps that you never shut off, and then use the other ones to vary.
so that's why, okay. I wasn't quite sure if they could deviate.
I got to get the number. They're going on a new record date. Was it 300 or 700? I think maybe it's 300 days of consecutive running.
But Derek, even the output of the nuclear plant, they raise and lower it. It keeps running, but they.
Well, yeah, the output they dial.
So they can dial it up and down.
They can dial it up and down. Yeah.
So that's how long of it? Like, let's say they say we need some more power. In an hour, could they be up to a higher capacity, or is it a day?
The difference with like a nuclear plant is the cost isn't, there's no variable cost whether you're taking this little of energy or this much energy. The cost is the same. You know, natural gas, you're going to raise the energy on it, you're going to burn more fuel.
Right.
That's the difference of it. You know, so you want to run it at more of a higher output, constant, because you're getting more bang for your buck.
Yeah, and that's why I was just kind of curious, because I know they're talking about solar and wind providing a lot of power, but sometimes nature doesn't work.
Right, yes.
Right. Well, you do. You go from sunshine to darkness pretty quick, or from a sunny day to a cloudy day real quick, too.
Yeah, and I don't know how, based on a cloudy day, how much energy you lose on those, but you got to make it up somehow.
Yeah.
And nuclear is a great baseline of energy. I mean, you can't beat it.
No, it's very clean. It's efficient.
Okay,
To add to that, I was fortunate 4 years ago to get to tour MISO. So in Egan, that's the power grid from Winnipeg all the way down in northern Texas. And this is part of it. Every transmission line, every feeder line, everything, they know exactly what output is going in any line. It was like a big IMAX theater type setup with screens all over the place. And they had people monitoring all this, so they need to dial up or dial down. Say there's a lot of water and the turbines in the dam are going out, so they dial down the coal plant or some other plant to max so they don't overload the lines. It's called Life Off the Grid. I think they have a YouTube video on it. Day in the Life of MISO would be, and I don't mean MISO soup, I mean it's about the power grid. That if you ever get a chance, and Derek, since you have a nuclear plant there, try to get yourself, because they will do an analysis, they will find out who you held hands with in kindergarten before you get in there.
Yeah.
They know, they are pretty in-depth, because mine took almost 30 days before I got okay to get in there.
Really? Wow.
And it's definitely a education on how the power grid system works. You'll get an understanding of this that you will not get in a book. And if anybody was interested, check it out and get yourself in there.
And I'll have to check that out.
Okay. Anything else, Derek?
Other than the fact I got to meet the new superintendent for Monticello, Dr. Favor, at our Safe Schools the other week, which was a very nice opportunity. I think he'll be a great addition to the Monticello School District.
Okay. Brian, did you have anything else? Okay. Lee?
No, sir.
Anything else to come before the board? With that, we are adjourned at 10:04.